Well, I had more community, but it was just still, in terms of as a student, grad student, particularly PhD student, there were fewer.
Yes.
Of us. So the community was my family. I recall my first day on campus, my advisor was not there because he was away attending a conference, but he suggested that I make an appointment with a number of professors and that he recommended to have conversations so that I could create my committee. And so it's this one guy. I went into his office, closed the door, and he said to me, "I don't think you're going to make it here. But since you came with an outside fellowship, we'll take the money."
Wow.
And he smiled, and I smiled back because I was like, "Oh, sir, you do not know who you're talking to."
That's right.
I am Sandra K. Johnson. You heard this before. Gloria Dean Johnson's daughter.
That's right.
You don't know who you're talking to, and you are uninformed. But before I leave this place, I will make a believer out of you.
Today, we are elated to have Dr. Sandra K. Johnson with us. She is from Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's her hometown. And she is the first Black woman to earn a PhD in computer engineering, period.
Yes.
Period. Not a specific school, just period in the nation. And she is right
in
here.
The world.
In the world.
Probably in the world. I haven't
Probably
checked
in the world.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet in the
Me
world.
too.
She has had a 26-year career at IBM, including serving as the CTO of IBM Central, East, and West Africa, and the CTO of IBM Global Small and Medium Businesses. Currently, she's the CEO of SKJ Visioneering, LLC, which is a technology consulting company. She's an independent director at Regional Management Corporation and Pan American Life Insurance Company. She received a BS in electrical engineering at Southern University, earned her master's in electrical engineering at Stanford University, and went on to earn her PhD in electrical and computer engineering at Rice University. Her background area is in high performance computing, and she's thebomb.com. That's all you need to know. She's an IEEE Fellow. She is a master inventor with over 45 pending and issued patents and over 80 technical publications. If that was not enough, she has also authored 5 books, including her memoir, Soft Power for the Journey, The Life of a STEM Trailblazer. I'm going to stop talking because Dr. Johnson is amazing and we want her to say all the words. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Kyla. It is certainly a pleasure to join you today.
Yay.
Yes,
I'm so excited.
I'm excited as well.
I'm excited too.
It's been a long time. I feel like if you're someone who's involved in the National Society of Black Engineers, you've seen Sandra somewhere.
Yes.
Because she's ever present there. And I remember meeting her when I was an undergraduate student a long time ago.
Is that right?
I do. And it was really inspiring. And one of my favorite things to do at NSBE was to go to these meetings that they would have of folks who were like you, trailblazers in their field, folks who'd, gone down the path that you want to pursue, and kind of sit at their feet and hear their words of wisdom. And I think that was my first introduction to you. And then we met not long ago, again, at Black Computer.
Yes.
And it was a time, y'all.
Man, we had the panel to end all panels.
We did. We
amazing.
certainly did.
So I'm excited for this.
Yes. And I remember meeting Dr. Johnson at IBM between my last year of college and my first year of grad school. I had an internship at IBM in Research Triangle Park, and she had come down to visit another guest that we had, Dr. Ruthie Lyle Cannon. And she's like, you need to come to lunch. It was either lunch or dinner or something. And you gave me a copy of Inspirational Nuggets. I would be holding it up right now, but it's in my office. But I searched for it. I was like, I took it to campus. But yes, I remember back then believing that, oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. Is there anything she cannot do? And then just to be reunited at Black Computer was like just a really cool just bookend to be like, wow, before I was starting a grad program, didn't know it was going to happen. And now I'm, 10 years into my career. Like, this is wild.
Now, so I do have to say something based upon what you just said, Kyla. That is, I do have a strong faith. So when you said I can do anything, I truly believe I can do all things. Not some things, not a few things, but all things through Christ who strengthens me.
That's right.
We agree.
We agree.
Amen. So I guess, going back to where probably a lot of that was instilled in you, what was it like growing up in Lake Charles, Louisiana?
Well, I do want to share that my family, that is my mother and siblings, moved to Lake Charles when I was 2. Prior to that, I was a military brat. My father was an enlisted man in the Air Force. In fact, I was born in Japan. Can't you tell? Nobody seems to believe that I was born in Japan, except this one guy I met a couple of days ago who had been drinking a lot. But anyway, so we moved around a lot. We were in Bourne, Massachusetts, and was about to move to Germany when my father was killed in an automobile accident by a drunken driver. And so my mom brought the family at the time. She had 3 kids, 3 months pregnant with my younger sister. I was the middle child at the time, the second. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and moved to Lake Charles, Louisiana, which was her hometown, which became my hometown. And so we grew up with an extended family, my mother's siblings and their husbands and their children. Wow. So my cousins are more like siblings. So birthday parties, etc., it was just the siblings and the cousins, and it was enough to have a birthday party. So it was an extended family. We were very close. We also all attended the same church, Baptist church, that I could walk to, back in the day. But it was that extended family, that foundation, that strong Christian foundation, and strong Black women who instilled in all of us that we could do anything we wanted to do if we wanted to do it. Just put our mind to it, and don't let anyone tell us otherwise. And so that foundation helped significantly as I moved forward and had various types of life experiences over the years.
That's amazing. I think, it makes me think of what I remember of my family in Mississippi. Like, I was born outside of the group of cousins that all live together. And I would come and visit them, and it's like, they're so close. Like, this is so amazing that they have all of these people around them. It's like the community is raising them.
Yes. Now, and I have to add, I do have a cousin who's a professional comedian, and so I want to support him by sharing. I don't know if you guys have heard of Josh Johnson, but that is my first cousin's son.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So he's more like a nephew because his father's more like a brother, right?
Oh my
but
goodness.
Josh Johnson is my relative, my cousin.
Wow.
So you
That is amazing.
go out, and anytime because he's
I
all
know
over
him.
the place.
On the Daily
Yeah.
Show. I follow him on Instagram.
Yes.
I was like, let me make sure this is who I'm thinking of. That's awesome.
That
He's
is
hilarious.
my cousin. He was born and raised in Alexandria, Louisiana.
That is
We
so
could be
cool.
related because I have Johnson in my blood too. So I don't know. I don't know. We might need to figure this out because that's amazing. That's so amazing.
That is
It
amazing.
Yes, it is.
He's like famous right now.
Yeah.
Like,
And just one little tidbit, he may be a little embarrassed, but he won't be disappointed. Josh is very shy.
Really?
So when we first heard him stand up, to do his routine, we were like shocked. It's like, wow, this is amazing. But anyway.
I feel like the shyest people, like comedy's about observation. And I feel like the shyest people sit back and observe what's happening. And the fact that you can make things funny out of that, I feel like that's the perfect setup.
Yes.
We've had conversations about this before because Kyla's friends with a pretty popular social media influencer. And my brother is also a social media influencer, does comedy. And so like it tracks all of them are introverts.
So
most
shy.
people think
Yes.
that they're extroverts, and then they like go and try to talk to them after their shows, and they're just like,
it's like, get away from
Yes,
me.
amazing.
Like,
I just
did
gave
all my
everything
talking.
I had on that stage.
Right.
I can't do this right now.
And by the way, I consider myself an introvert as well. But that does not stop me from doing what I need to do.
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
I
Not
think
a
there's
jinx.
a spectrum, and maybe you're closer to extroversion on that spectrum than way into the depths of introversion.
Well,
That's
one
just
thing
my
I can
personal belief.
share with you, it's in my memoir, is I actually won. I was in a talent show one time, and I won first place for acting.
I can believe that.
We can see that. That's legitimate.
So, yes, I'm an introvert, but I have to do what I need to do to make the connections, to that is needed for people to be aware of who I am, the work that I've done, and be recognized for future opportunities.
Yeah, you know how to pull it out.
Yeah, when you were younger, was it more evident that you were an introvert?
Oh, yes. Because it was only when I started, working professionally, did I realize I couldn't just be comfortable standing next to a wall, which I was prior to that I was not going to really make significant progress in my career doing that. So that's when I started, what were the words you used? Pulling it out.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had to do that in order to. We cannot assume that it's just enough to do well, no matter what you do, right?
Right.
You have to have. There's a fine art of tooting your own horn, right? And so you have to know how to do that. In addition to having mentors and sponsors to help you, because that is just as important, if not more so, for your future success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that you recognize that, because some people think it's a meritocracy and it's just, okay, do good work and you'll be recognized. No, sometimes you got to do a little extra so people can know and you can be on their radar.
I have to admit that I did not recognize it. I had to be told that.
But you also listen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important, right? Listening and taking heed, particularly if it comes from someone who's been down that road before and is sharing words of wisdom.
Were there other people in your family who did engineering or something in STEM that inspired you? Or was that something you realized while you were in middle or high school?
Actually, I have a STEM family.
Really?
Yes. But most of us, came up around the same time. I have two older cousins. One was in physics. One was in microbiology. But they were in science. I was interested in engineering. I actually attended an engineering summer institute the summer prior to my senior year in high school. It was for high school students at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I applied because I was not really interested in learning how to drive a train, which was the only type of engineer I was familiar with. But I was very much interested in getting away from home for the summer, staying in a dorm, so I didn't have to wash dishes or do other chores. So that's why I applied.
So that's what got accepted. You, the freedom.
Yes. No chores. And so it's when I attended that program, I learned about electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering, fell in love with electrical engineering, and that's when I knew this is something I was born to do. But at the same time, my extended family also considered Southern University to be the family university.
Oh,
so my two cousins, the ones that majored in the science disciplines, they went to Southern. I had two cousins who started the same time I did. At Southern, one in electrical engineering, my brother a year behind me, electrical engineering, and then a cousin a year behind him, also in electrical engineering.
Nice.
And then another cousin, 2 years behind the first cousin I mentioned. He was the odd man out, mechanical engineering major.
All these engineers.
So family of engineers, family of STEM folks. And now, even with the new generation, I have a niece, my sister's daughter, who's a veterinarian.
That is amazing.
Yes.
That is unheard of. So when it comes to, I know people have started calling it like imposter syndrome and things like that. It didn't have a name back then, but you had no room for it because you were seeing all of these people who, you know, not just look like you, but came from where you came from in your family doing it. And that's amazing.
And by the way, Southern, I just have to mention, is HBCU, and even my niece now, she went to Tuskegee for vet school, right? Another HBCU.
I was going to ask that.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Tuskegee that let me know I did not need to be a veterinarian.
Wow.
I went to a summer camp and I was like, no, this isn't it. Not doing it.
She loves it. I mean, it's just like, we don't know where it came from, but she loves it.
It came from y'all. It's just, she's okay with, she's a different tolerance for things. And like, I just, it wasn't going to happen.
No, I have a cousin that is married to a vet, and he said he had to deliver a baby cow. And
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was like, yep, this is where I leave you.
That was the line for me. That was where it was drawn.
And she loves exotic animals, right? You know, I've seen pictures of her, you know, snakes and lizards and, you know, treating them. And I'm like, oh.
Nope. I'm itching as you're saying this.
And she's holding them in front of the camera and she's smiling. And I'm like, God bless you.
I can hold it. I'm just not trying to inject anything into anybody, you know, bodily fluids, none of that. No, thank you. No, I just can't handle it.
Yes.
I was also going to say, Kyla, you know, people of a certain age, imposter syndrome was not allowed.
You're right about that. It is. You're going to do this and you can.
Like, I just can't imagine my mom, for example, having imposter syndrome.
Right.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I can share a couple of things with you relating to that. So I shared with you the strong extended family who just poured into us that we could do anything. And then at Southern University, the HBCU, it was a similar type of thing. The professors were tough, but we were like family. We supported each other, and we knew and encouraged each other to do well, right? So when I left that environment, it had been 21 years of, quote, indoctrination, unquote. So when I went into the rest of the world and was faced with all kinds of people who told me you're in the wrong place, you don't belong here, it was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I know Sandra K. Johnson, Gloria Dean Johnson's daughter, belongs here.
That's right.
And before I leave this place, I will make a believer out of you. And I did. I did. Many times I did. And then the second thing is, just a couple of days ago, someone asked me the question about, what was it like, in a career surrounded by so many men? And I said, well, I like men.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
what you
it was
said on
not
the
a
panel.
problem. Right. It was just like,
Yes.
oh, this is great.
Those
There's
girls
also
were
the
cracking
saying,
up.
yes. There's also the saying, the odds are good, but the goods are odd. So, you have to, the numbers are there, but you might have to sift through a few,
Yes. But again, it's how you look at a situation, right?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So you were at Southern, living your best HBCU life, and then Stanford just came knocking. Like, what was that decision to go to Stanford like? Like, were you thinking about grad school? Did you do research in undergrad that made you want to do that? Like, how was that? How was the PhD on your radar, or the master's actually on your radar? And then why Stanford?
Initially, it was not on my radar. When I was an undergraduate in college, there was a man by the name of Howard Adams, who was part of the National Consortium for Graduate Degrees for Minorities in Engineering Incorporated. And he came to campus at least once a year, trying to encourage all of us to go to grad school. And by the way, he's still around.
Oh, yeah.
And so I listened, and I was like, well, maybe. But I took the material that he presented and I put it away in my closet at home. And when I was a junior in college and I began to think about, okay, Sandra, what are you going to do next once you graduate? I was really enjoying my coursework. I loved it. And I felt as though, I think I can go to grad school, master's, that's 1, maybe 2 years, and learn a little bit more before I started to work. I did not want to get a PhD because that was, it's just too long. It's too tough to do. And I was concerned that maybe I might get hit by a truck before I actually start, working. And so I felt that a master's degree was a healthy compromise. And so I applied for GEM, was accepted. And the end of my junior year, the summer before my senior year, I worked as a GEM Fellow. Then when I was a senior and I started applying for grad school, and I started looking at the costs associated with not only grad school, but how was I going to live, I came to the conclusion that the GEM Fellowship did not pay enough money for me to live well without getting a loan, right, or some other type of student aid. And I did not want to do that. One thing that I was keenly aware of is that for engineering majors, it's possible to go get funding somewhere. That was like a fellowship, maybe additional fellowship, etc. So it was interesting. My senior year in high school, the end of the first semester, I was home for the Christmas break, cleaning out my closet, and I happened to find a box in the corner of the closet at the bottom of stuff that had applications for Bell Labs fellowship programs.
Oh, wow.
So I looked through those and I said, oh, yeah, I had almost forgotten about it. And I discovered that they paid more money in terms of living expenses. I mean, living. And so I said, I will apply for this. And then if I'm accepted into this fellowship, then I'll drop out of the GEM program. At the time, GEM was just a master's degree program, whereas these Bell Labs fellowship programs were PhD programs. So I applied for those. My plan was to, if I was offered the fellowship, to accept, go to grad school, drop out after I get my master's degree. So I did get accepted to the Bell Labs. I think it was the Cooperative Research Fellowship Program, or CRFP. And so I accepted that fellowship, went on to Stanford University, And my first year there, I ran into this professor emeritus, William Shockley, who was a Nobel Prize winner in physics, the co-inventor of the transistor. So he was an emeritus professor in electrical engineering at Stanford. But what he also did in his spare time was to, as a hobby, conduct research that he felt quantified that blacks were inferior to whites. And once I learned this, I was like, well, is that so? Well, I'll show you. And that is how I decided to stay in that fellowship program and stay to get a PhD.
Wow.
So it was almost like, being a feather in the wind sort of thing. Oh, I just happened to find the application at the right time. I happened to run into William Shockley. I look back over it now and think that was ordered steps.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just shocked that he thought he had quantified inferiority. Like that's why. And the fact that he's doing this research at a university where the people who he claims are inferior also attends, like that. Wild. That's bananas to me.
Oh, it is. And he was adamant about it, by the way.
Yeah, he was going around the world sharing his viewpoints on the, and it was like a group of them, right, who were working together on those projects. I just thinking out loud about my experience and talking with Kyla too about hers, and we've interviewed so many of us, so many Black women about their experiences, and I really feel like we are very motivated to be stubborn in the face of foolishness. Like, y'all aren't going to intimidate me out of this program. I don't know what you think is going to happen. Like, I will stay here out of spite.
Right. My family calls it being contrary. So it's like, oh, this person's always contrary. You're always contrary. Like that foolishness is my fuel. Like say that I cannot do something. Oh,
absolutely.
It's
on. Absolutely. Yeah. And that happened to me several times. Yes. Throughout my graduate school career and also my professional career.
But was it difficult for you, like not being at a university where you were affirmed and had family and being far away from family? Like, how was that transition?
I was far away from an HBCU. I was away from family, but I had a family of Black STEM graduate students. And we supported each other morally. Most of us were in different fields of endeavor, even for those of us who were in electrical engineering, different areas of electrical engineering, so that we could not help each other academically. But you can never underestimate the power of positive support, right? So even in the environments that I look back over it now, for example, at Stanford, it was really a hostile environment. I did not consider it hostile at that time. But looking back over it, it was. But in spite of being immersed in such an environment, the fact that it had, 10, 15 good, close friends who were experiencing similar things, and we supported each other. And that really helped quite a bit. And for me, in addition to that, I had classmates, many of them from foreign countries, who were experiencing similar things. And so we got together to work on problem sets, etc. Many of them were the smartest classmates in the class, so that worked out well for me. It really did work out well. And I'll share with you another example. I recall, at Southern, everyone's supportive. No one really bragged about how smart they were. I went to Stanford and everyone had the biggest ego, and oh, they're this and they're that, and I know this and I know that. And I'm like, well, how am I going to, perform with all of these people who know all of these things, right? And so then, one of the first midterms, and about a week after the test, but before we got the results, the TA came up to me, "Hi, Sandra," and is having a conversation with me. Now, this TA knew who I was from day one, never said anything to me, right? Until about a week after the first exam. And so that took, I'm like, why? I didn't even know he knew my name. But hey, I kind of stood out. But I was not thinking like that. And so he came, and he was very friendly, wanted to have a conversation. And I was a little standoffish because I'm like, what's going on here? And then when I got we got the test results back, I had one of the highest scores in the class. And so when I went to talk to some of my other classmates who had been bragging about all they know, they didn't want to say anything. And so I'm like, okay, I figured it out. They were playing mind games. They didn't know any more than me. They were just trying to make it appear as though they knew more, to try to mess with my mind. At least that's what I thought. Right?
No, you're right. You were right.
And so from that point on, then they wanted to have a conversation with me and being friendly with me like the TA. And I was like, I'm not going to be used.
Right.
I understand who you are, right? I'll be friendly with you, but don't think you're going to be my friend because you've already shared with me who you really are.
Yeah. I had a similar experience, and it's crazy how, I remember talking to the professor once about something, and he was just like, look, these people who are being extra in class and seeming like they know everything, he was like, well, some of them have D's, so do not follow behind them. He was like, look, this is, and I'm so glad he was so real with us.
Yes.
But yeah, it's so crazy how, especially in engineering and computing, there's this bro culture almost of I need to just puff up my chest and show you how much more I know and what I do outside of school and make you feel inferior. It's fine to be smart and have extracurricular activities, but the fact that you feel the need to make someone else feel less than, why? For what? There isn't a limited quantity of grades going out. Whatever you earn is your grade. So I've never understood the need for that bravado.
I am so happy that I learned that early on. Right.
Yes.
Because from that point on, I understood what was going on. And, I was like, oh, these mind games will not work with me. You can keep trying. And so it became a game with me. I would say to myself, is that the best you have? Oh, please.
Right.
I don't mind going toe-to-toe with somebody, but come on, give me your best shot.
Right. At least make it interesting.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know. I'm intrigued by this, and I wonder how much of your experience growing up played a role in that, because we will mess with each other about stuff a lot. Especially family. They're the main ones who drag you down. You'd be like, why are we doing this?
Nobody outside the house can drag you because the family has already dragged you before you get outside the house. It's this is preparation.
Well, it was I knew they were not family. Remember? My family were my fellow graduate students in STEM who looked like us. Mm-hmm. And so I understood the difference. Even with the TA, I was I had to be a little friendly with him, right? But I was cordial, and friendly, but I understood what they were all about. They showed me their true colors, before I really understood what was happening, what was going on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that plus the strong foundation that I grew up in. So once I graduated and went into, started working for IBM professionally, and I was in research so it was a similar type of mentality. At that point, I'd gone toe to toe to a few people, with a few people. So I understood what the situation was. Yeah. And it was a little easier as a result of that. No, I'm not saying it was easy. It was just a little easier.
Yeah. But there are people who don't last in their programs and they leave because of that toxicity, because it does make a toxic environment. So if you don't have that within you already, you could be a perfectly capable person that just leaves the discipline because of just the environment and nothing to even do with your actual ability.
Yeah, it's competition. Like, it's very much a dog-eat-dog world. And it still is. Like, there are still faculty to this day who will be like, look to your left, look to your right. What if you won't be here at the end? It's like, why do we want tenure? Yeah, like, why do we want to do that? How does that help anybody?
Right. It makes everybody's life stressful. Like, why? And for what?
Right. And even with that said, I did also have primarily female mentors who mentored, shared words of wisdom, etc., about how to traverse the maze of this type of environment, and also showed others, the ones that paid attention, that there's a better way to interact with people, to brainstorm, etc., than the dominant culture and research.
So, okay. You're in your classes, people are being annoying. The community in general on campus is not really all Black people, for Black people, all that stuff. But you had a community, you had mentors. Were you involved at all in like student organizations? How did you manage your day-to-day?
Undergrad, yes, I was initially. Well, I should share with you that in high school, I did not know what it meant to be a valedictorian or a salutatorian until I was a freshman in high school. At the end of my freshman year, when I had a few B's.
Oh, great. It's I didn't even know.
and so, but at that point, it was just highly unlikely that I was going to be valedictorian. And so in college, I said, okay, I'm going to make up for it in college. Get the best, learn as much as possible. So that was my focus. I came there to learn and to graduate, and that's what I was going to do. So the first 2 years in college, I just focused on my schoolwork. And then after about a couple of years, I said, I think I have enough time to still do well and participate in extracurricular activities. So then I became involved in Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE. Eventually became the president of the student chapter. Wow. I pledged. I'm a Delta. So I pledged Delta Sigma Theta as a junior in college, and then became actively involved in that. I was in some other activities as well, but again, only became active as a junior in school. And then when I went to Stanford, it was back to there was just so much work that we were given to do. We couldn't possibly, spend a whole lot of time doing other things other than, the types of things that you would want to do to stay sane.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I was not really actively involved in any extracurricular activities, but with my social network, we went to the movies, we went canoeing down the Russian River, we went horseback riding on Half Moon Bay. So we did some wonderful things, right? But that was like, 1 weekend here, 1 weekend there. We had potluck dinners every now and then. So it's not like it was all work and no play, because Sandra is a bad girl if she does all work and no play. But no extracurricular activities.
Okay. I'm glad that the introvert found community, because I definitely saw during my time at Michigan, Jeremy and I were like you, where we seek out community in places where there aren't many of us, and often leading that community. And there were people who just were like, oh, I can't do anything. I'm going to be off to the side. And then you look around and they're not there a few years later, because, it is, we're not saying everybody has to be an extrovert, but at least connect. to someone, so someone knows what's going on with you. And I don't think we can like hammer that into people's brains enough. And that's in anything, not even just school. You know, you need community.
Actually, I had a girlfriend who, she was a year ahead of me at Stanford, and she also went to Southern University too, graduated the year before me. And she was the social butterfly. Great.
Oh, nice.
So I recall she just came to, you know, I lived in a graduate school townhouse. She just came to my townhouse and dragged me out. You're going to dinner whether you like it or not. Right?
Perfect.
One of us.
Yes.
She's one of us.
There's some saying that's like introverts don't actually make friends, and extrovert adopts them. And that is the perfect, that is the perfect demonstration of that.
Yes.
So then after Stanford, you earned your master's, and then you decided Rice University.
Yes.
So was there ever a conversation to stay at Stanford for your PhD? You know, what made you want to go to a different university?
I think for me, the PhD qualifying exam at Stanford at the time was all oral. It was you and a professor. There were some requirements that you had to meet in order to take it. And you, I think, had maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you had to leave if you didn't pass. And so the first year I looked at the requirements and I said, you know, I'm not ready. I'm going to wait until the next year. And then at the same time, there were a couple of folks in my community who had taken it the first year. They didn't pass. And so the second year, they sort of didn't go home for Christmas, just stayed on campus to study for the qualifying exam. The department told them, well, we haven't made a decision yet whether or not we'll let you take it. But they stayed on campus anyway, just in case.
Wow.
And so then they found out, you know, maybe a week or so before the exam was going to start that they were not going to be allowed to take it. And this happened like a couple of years in a row. And so I looked at that experience. They had very similar background. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to stay here 2 or 3 years. There were other places where I can go. I never even took the qualifying exam at Stanford. I was like, well, you know, I know how to milk Stanford because I have 1 degree.
That's right.
And then I went around the same time, the Bell Labs fellowship that I had, they assigned you a mentor. So I had this conversation with my mentor. It's like, you know, I'm thinking about looking at other schools to go and get a PhD. And my mentor suggested Rice University because that was his alma mater. Right?
Oh, wow.
And he spoke very highly of it. So I looked into it and, you know, I really trusted him, you know, talking about right? Words of wisdom. And so I went ahead and applied to Rice. And then maybe a week after I submitted my application, I got a phone call from a professor, a Nigerian guy, who was so excited because he had been trying to get a Black person to apply for grad school for years, and he was just frustrated. And then here's one that just lands in his lap, right? And then when I talked to him, it turns out that he was in a field that really interests me, right? So then he became my advisor.
Nice.
And
Makes
so
sense.
that worked out. No, he was really tough. No, there was no easing of anything. In fact, it may have been even worse. But I knew that he was a supporter, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I applied, was accepted, and ended up going to Rice University. Yeah.
That's great. How was Houston? Because you were closer to home then.
Closer to home, I actually shared an apartment with a sister and a cousin.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
When I first arrived for a couple of years, and then I moved into my own apartment. So yes, it was close to home. In fact, my family, for my thesis defense, they came to my thesis defense, and they all sat in the back of the room. So when all of my fellow students and the professors came in, they were just like, had this shocked look on his face when their faces when they saw my family seated in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's so sweet.
So in other words, don't you try anything.
Right.
Right.
Because you're not going to walk up out of here. You walked in, but you might go limping back.
I love that. What area were you studying with this professor?
Computer architecture, performance evaluation, cache coherence protocols.
So, this, the way that it happened with you and your professor is kind of the opposite of the way that some people are taught to look for an advisor. It's like, think of what research area you want and then find the faculty member who's doing that. But in your case, you said, I want to go here. Look, here's someone I can work with. Let's work on whatever you're working on.
Well,
and
actually, that was my interest. Okay.
Oh, great.
So even when he called me, when he saw my application, and then we started talking about what his area of interest was, it coincided with what my interest. So it
Even
worked
better.
out well. Again, audit steps.
Yes, that's right.
So what were the challenges in that space? You're back in the South. You got more of us around. I'm sure you have more community, but what were the challenges then?
Well, I had more community, but it was still, in terms of as a student, grad student, particularly PhD student, there were fewer.
Yes.
Of us. So the community was my family. I recall my first day on campus. My advisor was not there because he was away attending a conference, but he suggested that I make an appointment with a number of professors and that he recommended to have conversations so that I could create my committee. And so it's this one guy. I went into his office, closed the door, and he said to me, I don't think you're going to make it here. But since you came with an outside fellowship, we'll take the money.
Wow.
And he smiled, and I smiled back because I was like, oh, sir, you do not know who you're talking to.
That's right.
I am Sandra K. Johnson. You heard this before. Gloria Dean Johnson's daughter.
That's right.
You don't know who you're talking to, and you are uninformed. But before I leave this place, I will make a believer out of you. And then 4 years later, by the way, he did come to my thesis defense. He saw my family sitting in the back. But he came and he sat down. And then, so after I passed, I was taking my family on a tour of the campus, walking tour. And we ran into him. And he came to me all excited, a big smile on his face. And he said, oh, Sandra, you were phenomenal. You were great. Outstanding. I know they passed you. They would be a fool not to. I don't even have to ask. I know they passed you. Congratulations. And so I smiled. Thank you. And in my mind, I was like, mission accomplished.
I'm sorry, my petty is set up such that I would have to remind him and like, who said who's not gonna finish? Who said who? Like, I cannot stand that. Like, the unmitigated gall.
Well, of course, but at this point, 4 years later, I'd gotten past that because of what he said 4 years earlier, and I also was keenly aware of the fact that I was a trailblazer. There was no one else who looks like me. And I did not fall into the trap, if you will, of being accused of an angry Black woman.
Yeah.
So I was intentional about trying to use wisdom when I encountered face-to-face these people. Now, when I'm at home with the relatives, that's something else.
Yes.
But face-to-face.
Can y'all believe what this man...
Yes.
Because that would fit their narrative. Like, if you were to be angry.
Yes. Yes. I mean, they were just waiting. I mean, if at any point I did, guess who would have suffered?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Oh, I
You
have
worked-
lots of stories like that. But
listen, we have a 2-hour podcast with
For
this,
real.
with this life that
Yes.
you've lived. You had a connection with Bell Labs.
yes,
But then ended up at IBM.
yes,
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So why IBM?
because at the time I graduated, Bell Labs had a hiring freeze.
Oh.
And so they told me, yes, we know we paid for you to go to grad school, but there's nothing we can do about it. There's a hiring freeze. That actually made it easier for me because of my interests. It was more closely aligned with what IBM had to offer than Bell Labs. So they made my decision easy.
Oh, wow. So you're like, out of here. Thank you. I am not beholden to you all after I am done. So you went straight into IBM. I'm curious, why didn't you think about academia?
She
Particularly,
was done with those folks.
Yeah, you're right.
well, that too, but most of the professors that I had were more interested in research than teaching.
Yeah.
They did not like teaching, and it showed. Many of them were bad teachers. And I loved research. I did not have, and still don't, the patience to teach. You know, at that time, and I'm sure it's even worse now, there were students who did not want to learn but wanted the good grade.
Yep.
And I was afraid that I couldn't hold my peace. And you get into trouble. And so I chose to look for governmental or industrial research organizations. And that's how I ended up at IBM Research.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I mean, you basically read Kyla.
Yes. I was like, but you're self-aware. We're more self-aware.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right about that. But I think had you chosen to be in academia, the students, you would have been the favorite. Because when you are just candid and don't care about what you say, the students are like, yes, more, say more. Even though we're taught to, be prim and proper and only say certain things, people don't want fakeness. They want what's real.
And quite frankly, after having gone through, let's see now, 6 years, academia, very grueling 6 years.
Yeah.
I did not want to go through another 6-7 years of a tenure process.
I understand. Did you know
Done
you would
with
be the
them
first
folks.
as you were going through?
No, I did not. It was only years later when I was on the board of the Computing Research Organization. Computing Research Association. And they do the annual report on the statistics of grad students. And I started looking at the results from years prior to the time, and I did not see any Black female who had earned a PhD in computer engineering. And so, and I certainly did not know of any, but I realized there could have been some that maybe graduated and I didn't know about. Right. But it was years later.
Yeah, but Talby, they keep those records for CRA. So you found out afterwards. 'Cause for me, that was my motivation at Michigan. I'm like, oh, and nobody else has come through and y'all are acting crazy? Okay.
I'll show you, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to know you're the first at your university or college, but to then find out there was no one else in the United States of America.
Right.
What was that like?
Now I understood that there were others who were capable, but for whatever reason, did not make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But actually, after having gone through the process, I, got some ideas about why some didn't make it. And it had nothing to do with their ability.
Right.
It
It's
was
not
the
about
environment.
aptitude.
Yes.
It's the way you're viewed.
Just like, I'm not going to take this and walk away.
Yeah. When I was my last year of my PhD program, I was working at Wayne State University, and there was a woman, another Black woman in the computer science department, who told me she had been in the PhD program at Michigan for computer science, and she didn't finish. And I was like, oh, if she had finished, she would have been the first. And she told me, you know, the reason that she left, and 100% toxic environment. Yes. She had her extreme, devastating life circumstance happen and had no sympathy from the department. It was like, look, do this or get out, and not caring that, you know, that she had all this going on, and not even like it's something that would set anyone back. And the fact that no one cared, the department didn't care, they're just like, oh, well, we haven't had one of you, and this just goes along with our narrative that you all can't do this, so I don't care. But it was wild.
That's why when I see people who are trailblazers, the first, or one of the first, a group of, the first few, I know they're tough as nails. I know that they're not only good academically, but very, very, very strong in terms of knowing how to traverse a very toxic environment. Yeah. And in just about any professional situation, you're going to encounter some tough issues that you'll have to address. You have to learn how to traverse. And as a result, I think that they're probably better able to do that than someone who has not been a trailblazer. And I think that not enough people truly understand that issue. I mean, that particular point, right? They look at so many other things, but it's the qualities that you cannot quantify or measure, but you can, if you have conversations with people, have some type of assessment when you look at individuals to try to understand, is this the best person, for this role? And I've had this conversation with people, particularly at the director level, when I hear, some of the executives say, we're going to go out and find the best person for this job. And I say, well, let's have a conversation about what do you mean by the best person?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So 26 years at IBM.
Yes.
And you kind of followed in your father's footsteps in a way, traveling the world. So the people don't know that you were all over the world.
Yes.
Yes.
Doing the things.
Well,
so,
when I was a teenager, actually probably preteen, my mother and her sisters had two brothers. They were both in the Merchant Marine. They traveled the world. And they would just come home every now and then and tell us tales of faraway places. They would also, what really excited us, especially Uncle Ernest, he would give us quarters and dollars. So anytime he was in town, hey, we have some candy money. But he was and that sort of planted the seed for me of traveling the world. And also, two of my mother's sisters were teachers. And this was during a time where that was the status, excuse me, the status position for African Americans. And their husbands were high school and junior high school principals, or middle school principals. And in the summer, they would travel, usually, get in a car and travel somewhere in the United States. And so I would live vicariously through them when they would come back home and, share about the places that they've been from sea to shining sea in the United States. And so I remember, I think one year, my older sister, who was a goddaughter for one of my aunts, they took her with them when they went to Los Angeles. And they spent the whole summer. And she came back talking about Disneyland and all these other places. And I remember standing in the backyard, my mom's house, of our house, looking up at the stars. And I would say, one day, I would go to all of these places. And for me, I dreamed of traveling around the United States. Even though I had uncles who had been to other places, I just didn't think that broad, right? It was just New York, Philadelphia, California. And so when I first started working at IBM, and within 6 months, had an opportunity to present a paper in Crete, Greece.
Ooh, man.
I've been there.
I was so excited.
Yes.
It's like I didn't have a passport.
Oh, no.
And I did not know how long it took to get a passport.
Oh, no.
So
Sandra.
I didn't go because now I did get a passport, but it came after the event, right? And so I said to myself, one day, and here it is, decades later, and I have to say, I'm about to go. I'm about to go.
Yay!
In a few months, but it's been like
you have to send us
you'll
pictures.
come back.
Yes.
I'm going on a cooking tour.
Oh, you ain't coming back.
Oh, that's like a dream.
She ain't coming back.
Yeah, so my husband and I, we take these cooking classes, and so the chef, who, by the way, I should add, a Black male who was in academia, a psychologist at Duke, associate professor, and he was like, you know what? I'm out of here.
I don't believe it. I believe it.
He went to cooking school. He always loved to cook. Went to cooking school. And then he became a chef, at restaurants. Then he started his own cooking school, which he still has. And then he has these cooking tours around the world. Right?
That is the way.
So,
I'm going to need the details of that offline.
Tell us about that offline.
I will. And just, just to connect the dots, if you will. It's just about a year ago, he says to me, Sandra, when are you going to go with us on one of our cooking tours? And so I said, well, where are you going? Right? He said, Brazil. He said, Japan. And then he said, Greece. I said, okay, I'm going to Greece. I said, that's it. Finally. Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, but it was through working in research. There are conferences all over the world. Right. So that's how I ended up in Hong Kong and Japan and, all over Europe, all over Africa, the Middle East, Cancun, Mexico.
Everywhere.
So yes, that's I every conference I always stayed a few extra days, to make a vacation.
That's work-life balance.
Absolutely. And it's also very cost effective.
That too, because you're already there. You don't have to spend an extra plane ticket.
Yes.
You need a couple of days.
Yes.
Do you like to do on the front end or the back? Oh, you said stay a few extra days. Yeah, definitely the back end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, my mom made me go. That's a whole other story for another day, though. That's amazing.
Yes, it's been wonderful. And it has been far beyond anything that I could have thought about or imagined. And I'm still going. I just told you,
Yeah.
about to go to Greece. Last year went to Australia and New Zealand. That was all vacation, by the way.
Oh,
for a
that's
month.
amazing.
A month?
Well, you can't go all the way there and stay, just a few days. It takes you
I feel like you need at least a week.
36
More
hours to
than
get
that.
there.
Yeah.
So a month.
At least a week.
Yeah.
I would like 2.
Yes.
Well, there are lots of conferences in Australia these days.
There are. I might be going in December. We'll see.
Yes.
And that's how I got there. And I did a 24-hour layover in New Zealand and got to layover in New Zealand and got to see the Lord of the Rings stuff and go around and eat and all this is for the free. So that's why we're always trying to encourage people to get PhDs because you go to conferences, you do research, you you travel places you never thought you'd travel before.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. So I'm curious about your time at IBM, and like, was any of that similar to what you had experienced in graduate school? Did you find yourself having to make or seek community there? Was there any difference, and how did you react to that?
Well, it was research. Research culture is research culture. Whether it's academia, government, or industrial, right? And so I worked for IBM for 8 years before I fully understood what working in corporate America was all about. Because, I was heads down working, enjoying the work, etc. And so things that should have been happening for me because of the work that I was doing was not. So how did I find out? Well, there was a time, around 8 years, 9 years, and where IBM got a new CEO, and he opened the door to have employee affinity groups. And so as soon as that door was opened, many of the Black executives at the time, what they did is they searched databases looking for high potential folks, certain bands. Well, that was what they called it at IBM. A certain level, like maybe 1 or 2 levels below executive, finding employees at this level that they can mentor. And I did not know this until years later, but for me, it was like out of the blue one day, I received an email to go to a conference, Women of Color in Technology conference. And of course, I went through the proper approvals, went to this conference, and my first day there, I remember I went inside the ballroom where the conference was held, looking for the IBM table, not realizing that I was standing right next to it. So I was looking everywhere but that place. And there was a woman sitting there. She saw me. She saw my name tag. And she reached for my wrist. She said, "Oh, Sandra." And she patted on the empty chair right next to me. So I sat down. She never introduced herself. And she said to me, "I want to talk to you about becoming an IBM executive." That was her first words to me. And I'm like, the IBM executives that I knew worked all the time. And I was not interested in working all the time. I said work-life balance, right? So I said, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, but I'm not interested. And she said, What I did not know was, because she didn't introduce herself, like I said, is that she was the first Black woman vice president at IBM.
Wow.
And she's not the type of person to take no for an answer. So she said, well, do you mind if I, stay in contact with you? We, talk from time to time. And she was based in Armonk, New York. I was in Hawthorne at the time, just 15 minutes apart by car. And so there was a time a few months later when she called me. At the time, I was president of my local chapter, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and those women were trying to give me a run for the money. And she called me at a time where I was just... And she picked it up on the phone. And so, she said, so what's going on? And I said to her, I'm a Delta, my chapter. So she asked me the question. She said, so you're a Delta? I said, yes. How many women are in you're the president? Yes. How many women are in your chapter? I said, about 125, 130. So she says, anybody who manages 130 strong,
Black women,
highly opinionated Black women can be an IBM exec. In fact, it's easier to be an IBM executive. And that got my attention.
Was she right?
Yes. She was absolutely right. And only a Black woman could tell me that and I believe it, right?
Yeah.
And so that she got my attention. We ended up going to a Chinese restaurant in Armonk, away from corporate headquarters, 2 hours. And she would ask me a question, I would answer. She would ask, I would answer. So, for example, she asked me the question, are you getting stock options? I said, no, they only give stock options to IBM executives. And this is what she did.
Wow.
And so I'm looking at her and I'm like, was it something I said? She just said, ask your manager. And then she would go to the next question and the next question. Right. So after about 2 hours, we went back to my office and I went straight to my manager and I asked him the question about stock options. And he said, we only give it to IBM execs. I said, well, could you please look into it for me? Because now I'm informed. And 2 weeks later, I got stock options.
Wow.
And so at that point, that was like an eye-opener, right? And other things that she had asked me about. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And then she started introducing me to other executives. And every single one I spoke to, after 30 minutes with me, they would be mad and upset. Not with me, but with IBM, because IBM was not doing right by me. In fact, one of them said, if I were you never heard this from me, but if I were you, I would check on my market capabilities. So I said,
Got a good point.
And so anyway, thus that was the beginning of my journey of understanding how corporate America works. And I learned well, and I learned how to work the system.
I mean, but it's a meritocracy.
It is. Of course it is.
Right. We're all doing air quotes for people who are just listening.
Yes, air quotes. Yeah. Wink, wink.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
So did your patents happen through IBM research primarily?
Most of them, well, not just research, but most of them through research. And it's because, literally maybe 3 or 4 months after I started working at IBM, I more or less continued to do work similar to what I did to earn my Ph.D. And so after initial set of results, I sat down and discussed them with my manager, and he started getting excited. And I'm like, I know these are good results, but... And then he said, well, I think what you have here is patentable.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, really? And I thought at the time, what most people think now, that you have to come up with an idea, with an invention that is a game changer, that changes the way this global society lives. Right. And while that is patentable, the overwhelming majority of patents are slight improvements on on existing technologies and inventions. And that so these results kind of quantify some design alternatives that I was looking at. And so that's how I learned about the majority of patents. And once I learned this, I'm like, okay. And then I went through that process with him to understand completely what it takes to get a patent. Then I'm like, okay, this is not quite as difficult as you would think. Yeah. But given the fact that I learned actually at a Grace Hopper conference about the fine art of tooting your own horn, it sounds really impressive when you say you have over 40 pending and issued patents. But they're not over 40 game-changing inventions that are going to change the world, right? But they are slight improvements or improvements over existing knowledge. And so I will share this with anyone who has an earned PhD. If you have an earned PhD, because that's what you do. You make a contribution to knowledge above and beyond anything that exists. So if you can earn a PhD, you can get at least one patent, if not more.
You have a great point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just planting the seeds.
Yeah, no, you just made me think about a project we have been developing, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. We need to.
I broke up
patent
with
this.
my stuff that needs to be patented. I'm done with that. We broke up.
Oh, you broke
I don't
up?
talk to her no more. Oh yeah, had to go. Sorry to see you leave, but I gotta go.
It was a necessary departure.
And by the way, since we're on this topic, you don't have to implement
Right.
whatever it is. You just describe it in a way that someone who's skilled in the art can understand it and build it. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I got to do some expert witness stuff, and like the way patents are written, it's like a certain art to writing it where
Yes.
you're not so specific that you hone yourself to just one
Yes.
thing. You like, it's like, okay, this is all manner of things that can do this thing.
Right.
So it's a very interesting skill, not something that I want to do for a living, but it is very interesting to observe and see like the art of writing them.
And the reason why is because it becomes a broader patent.
Yes.
And therefore it becomes more valuable when it comes to licensing, etc.
Or suing someone because
Yes.
you think that they stepped on your
Yes.
patent. Because
Yes.
if you say, I am patenting things that fasten things together, I didn't say a snap, a clasp, a
Right.
paper clip, a staple. So if you do any of those things, you have now stepped in my territory.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, this is serious. Like, it's a hustle. It's really is a hustle.
It is. It really is.
I don't have the space or time. My brain is.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work that way. Like, it can for limited periods of time, but like my brain does not work that way. I don't remember how many times I had to like Google like all the different terms and just like, okay, remember patent, not
But understand, you don't have to write it
Someone
up,
else can
right?
write it.
You
Yeah.
get a patent attorney
yes.
or a patent broker, to write it up. Now, I
That's
do want to
true.
share this. They can be very expensive. However, there was a time, I don't know what the situation is now, so look it up, but there was a time when some companies partnered with university IP, law departments, and patent law firms to provide pro bono services for underrepresented people. That includes women and people of color to file patent applications. And so many of my post-IBM patents that I filed has been through this program where
Nice.
the patent fees have been zero for me.
That's
Yes.
great.
So I want to share that with those of you who may be listening, who may think you have an idea that may be patentable. There are programs out there that will help you. And I've given you enough information to search on Google to find them.
There we go.
Perfect.
There you go.
I was also curious too, like you were also able to publish as you were working at IBM, I guess it is IBM research. So there is a publishing culture there.
Yes.
So did you feel like it was something that happened outside of your job, or you did it in right lock and step with what you were working on?
Oh, it was lock and step. And this truly was research without teaching. Right. So there was no publish or perish. It was just publish.
Just publish.
Yes.
And do cool stuff.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
So you transitioned from IBM research into consulting. What was that like?
Well, there was there were two companies that I created after I left IBM. One was consulting, and the other one was a fintech startup company, financial technology company. So my last IBM role, I was a chief technology officer for IBM Central, East, and West Africa, based in Nairobi, Kenya. And when I lived there, and every now and then I would come home for rest, and I would try to send money back to that part of the world, Western Union, et cetera, remittance. It was cumbersome. It was expensive, et cetera. And at the time, that was this thing called mobile money. This was like before Venmo and Zelle, right? And quite frankly, mobile money came out of Kenya. The Venmo folks and the Zelle folks, they got some ideas from some other part of the world, like Africa. And so when I lived there, everyone was using mobile money, right? I mean, this was a cash-based society. Credit cards were just not heavily used. It was all cash. So the mobile money in Kenya is called M-Pesa. There were competitors, but the most popular mobile money service provided by Safaricom, which is the largest mobile telephone company. They created, they were the first service provider to provide this service in Kenya. And as soon as it was provided, it just took off. And so it was interesting to see a society, cash-based society, where no one had cash because they used mobile money. I use mobile money. We don't think anything of it now, but 12 years ago, that was not the case. But it was in Nairobi. And so I got the idea, instead of using Western Union, to create this remittance mobile app that enable those living in the West to send money and deposit it directly into the recipient's mobile money account. So they didn't have to go to Western Union, etc. And so I created a company, Global Mobile Finance, Inc., to do that. And I think I had the company for like 5 years. So I went through the whole process of incubation, raising money, talking to VCs, angel investors, etc. And I learned, it was a learning experience through that process. I did raise some funds, but not a whole lot. And this part of the world at the time, no one was really interested in anything relating to Africa. And so it was very challenging and problematic. So I shut it down about a couple of years ago, but I still kept SKJ Visioneering LLC, my technology company. And since that time, I'm becoming more and more, let's just say, passionate about working with people of the African diaspora. I've come to the conclusion that one of the ways in which we as a people can gain significant power and influence is through entrepreneurship, particularly tech entrepreneurship. I look at the tech billionaires now. I travel throughout Africa in my CTO role, and I can assure you there are bright, brilliant people, many of them entrepreneurs with great ideas. And so throughout the African diaspora, I think about the Williams sisters and how they transformed tennis. I think about Tiger Woods and how he transformed golf. I think about Michael Jordan, how he transformed basketball. And, similar examples in medicine, for example. So why can't we do the same thing with venture capital? So I become a venture capitalist. I'm working with a partner who has a Ph.D. in AI, former IBMer. So between the two of us, we are going to start a venture capital fund called Greenwood Ventures, where we will provide funding to people of the African diaspora who are working on AI tech companies.
Nice. So if someone listening to this is like, hey, I want to pitch and let them know about my idea, should they go to your website? What should we do?
The best way to reach me is through LinkedIn. Dr. Sandra KJ with LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. Just in case someone's listening and like, oh, I have an idea, I need to tell her. So good. They have that information.
Now understand, we're going to be tough. We want you to succeed, which means you're going to go through a rigorous program.
There's a method.
Before we make a decision. Yes.
There's a method to the madness, though.
Yes, always.
Yes.
Always.
I have so many thoughts about that, too. We might have to send some messages back and forth. Okay, so consulting, is it something that, as someone who led an entire arm of a international organization, one of the top technology companies in the world, does that lend to consulting? Like, how do you translate those skills into what you do today?
Most of the skills are just the deep technology skills from just working in various tech-related projects over the course of 26 years and keeping abreast of the latest and greatest technologies. So for the most part, I pick and choose very small, contained projects to work on because in addition to that, I spend a lot of time on my corporate boards. And I do want to share a little bit about boards because this is the basically three types of boards, corporate boards: nonprofits, and then for-profit private, and for-profit public. It's sort of like a pecking order. Nonprofits, we all know about the nonprofits. Is to make a contribution to society, typically some type of social contribution. And to be on the board of a nonprofit is typically something that you are passionate about to help your fellow man in this global society. And in many instances, if not all, you are asked to help contribute, donate to the actual organization. Not so with public and private for-profit corporations. You are legally there to represent shareholders and other relevant stakeholders, but primarily shareholders.
There's a whole group called Black Women on Boards.
I'm a member of Black Women on Boards, yes.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
And Stanford Women on Boards, too.
See, what made you interested or willing to work in those spaces? Because that is a commitment.
Right.
Okay. It is a commitment. But in terms of the time commitment, is not as much time as you would think. Okay. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So what interests me is that when I was actually winding down my IBM career and I'm sharing, okay, what am I going to do next with some of my IBM colleagues? It's like, what are some of the things that we can do next? And the idea of corporate boards came up. We didn't know quite exactly what that meant. But, from the people that we knew who mentioned it, we discerned that this was important and it was something that we should look into. So I made a mental note that when I got back to the U.S., I would look into it. And I also had this woman who had been, for years actually, suggesting to me that I should seriously consider this. She introduced me to the leadership of a local professional directors organization. She suggested I join. You don't have to be a board member to do that. And so I met with them. And you know how when you walk into a room and people look at you like, what are you doing here? And you really don't belong. They don't have to say anything, right? Nope. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I have enough going on now. I do not want to have to deal with that. So I just let that go. At some point in the future in my mind, I said, I'll revisit. But then maybe a year or two later, no, it's longer than that, more like 3 or 4 years later, out of the blue, talking about order steps now, I received an email from a headhunter who represented a company who was looking for someone with my background. And she found me, a black woman, by the way, with my background, a former CTO, George Floyd. So, you know, it was around that time, right, shortly after he was murdered. So, so she reached out to me and she says, you know, are you interested in corporate boards? And of course, I will have a conversation with anyone because you never know where that's going to lead. Yeah. So I had a conversation with her, and the more I shared with her my background, the more excited she became. I'm like, why is this woman getting excited? So then she said, apparently I passed the initial filter, wanted to know if I was interested in going through that process. And I said, sure. She sent me the information. And so I read through it. I read a lot about the company. It seemed interesting. And so, but I think what really got my attention was the compensation. And I will share this with you because it's a public company. And what I did not know, I mean, I knew, but never really took the initiative to look into it, is that with all public companies, you know, the top 5 named executive officers are NEOs. Their compensation is published. And so is the compensation for directors, for boards. Now, there are some legal requirements of boards. You are legally required to do the due diligence to ensure that management is doing what they need to do to grow the company so that it's going to be successful in the marketplace, right? And if you don't do that, then, you know, there could be some potential legal issues. So it's very important that you do your due diligence, working with management, asking the right questions, providing guidance and oversight for the company. And boards fire and hire the CEO. Yep. So they definitely have influence and power. But I didn't know about the compensation, which on average is about $250,000 a year for about 15 hours a month of work.
Why am I in this chair right now? Like,
that is why I am sharing this with you. Right.
Interesting.
And so as I shared this with many of my friends, one friend in particular, I'll share with you, she said, oh, okay. So that's why my friends, you know, who I grew up with in terms of, you know, they worked in the same industry and, you know, were promoted at around the same times. But once they turned 50, and so she's like in her, you know, mid 60s, she said once they turned 50, they started retiring. And I couldn't figure out why were they retiring because, you know, I was not there, right?
Right.
But she knew they had been on a few boards for about 5-10 years.
Oh, they're good.
That's enough.
And so, but they didn't tell her.
Wow.
Oh.
Right. They were all
gatekeeping
Caucasian males. Right.
Got it.
And so that's why there is such a thing as Black women on boards. That's why I'm sharing, because there is such a thing as a board career. Where, you know, most of the CEOs of companies or even presidents of universities, you don't even have to be a president. When they retire, you know, they don't go to their rocking chair to rock their days away. They can have board careers. Yep. And so once my eyes were opened and I saw this and I started looking at the former IBM executives that I knew, right? They were all on boards. Then I discovered many of their friends were on the same boards.
So they just hanging out.
and they're like on 4 or 5 boards, you know, making $1 million a year.
Man.
You know, for about 2 weeks worth of work a month.
Man.
That is why I'm taking the time to share it with you. Because this is a method that we as a people can use to generate wealth.
That's amazing. And thank you for not gatekeeping, because this seems like something that I never knew about this.
People do
When we
it.
get off this call,
They be doing
I'm about to talk to you a little bit more about how to get into this because, yeah, we need more of us. Not even just because it sounds like a great job, but it's like we need representation on boards to look out for the best interests of communities that oftentimes are not represented.
And so Black women on boards. I found out about them because once I learned about this, I started getting excited, like I said, and reached out to my friends who I felt were good candidates as well for directorships. And I think I was just scrolling the web one day and I came across a news article, Black women on boards had the opening bell. They rang the opening bell at NASDAQ about 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so I read the article and I saw who the co-founders were and I just sent them emails saying, look, I've been doing this. I want to join you. And then the next year we rang the opening bell for the New York Stock Exchange. I was there. Valentine's Day 2023.
That's amazing.
You're in the picture somewhere?
I'm sorry?
I said, you're in the picture somewhere?
Well, I have some pictures now. I have some pictures. And then this year, 2 years later in March, we rang Black women on boards, the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Right. One of the co-founders, I will share this with you because it's exciting, is now the president, CFO, I can't remember what it's like 3 positions in one.
Oh.
Of Salesforce.
Whoa.
Oh.
Look her up. Her name is
Just connect us, Sandra. Just connect us. And we'll try to get her on the podcast
Robin Washington?
to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, no. Yes. Robin Washington. Robin Washington.
Oh, we need to talk to her.
Look her up. Right. You should definitely talk to her. She is...
You heard it here first.
An awesome woman. I was going to say something else, but she's an awesome woman. Yeah, she's an awesome one. Now, she may be a little busy now, but you should get her on the podcast.
Yes, it says
you should get her.
She's been
and by the way, do you know Stacey Brown Philpott?
We do.
Yes.
You have to get her on the podcast. She's a former CEO of TaskRabbit. She was the youngest person ever to be on HP's board. And she's still on HP's board.
Yeah.
And you know her?
I do know her.
You should get her as well.
We are putting it on here.
Okay. But before we go, you're telling us all about these other people. We wanted to give you a chance to talk about your books, especially your memoir. So she's like, it's over here somewhere. I know I have. It's in arm's reach.
Yeah. It's here. It's here. I know it's here. Okay. It's not here. I packed them all because I have a book signing in Atlanta.
Oh, that's right. You did mention that.
So I packed it up. I packed them all up because I'm going to sell them all that I have here. But anyway, I have published 5 books, actually. One is on Linux server performance. So for those of you who are interested in Linux performance, you can look it up. I also wrote 2 volumes of Inspirational Nuggets and Inspirational Nuggets 2. That's TOO. And essentially, as I traveled the country and I gave speeches, I would just take excerpts, little nuggets, if you will, from those speeches and put together this little book. And it's just like one page has a 1-sentence nugget. And so, but don't think that, it's an easy read. I'll just flip through that and I'll be done, because the words have power.
Yeah, you got to come back
to linger.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just as the name implies, Inspirational Nuggets 1 and 2. I mean, Inspirational Nuggets 2. I also, my brother passed away at the age of 35. He's 15 months younger than me. And when we were cleaning out his things, we found that he was writing his memoir.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't finish it. I finished it for him. So I published that, Gregory, The Life of a Lupus Warrior. He had lupus. And then my memoir, Soft Power for the Journey, The Life of a STEM Trailblazer. And it has, some of the things that I discussed with you, a whole lot more. Lots of drama and intrigue. I think it would make a great movie with Viola Davis playing Sandra Johnson.
I could see
I
it.
could see that. I could definitely see that.
Speaking this into the atmosphere.
Or Angela Bassett, perhaps.
Yes.
And then we have Keke Palmer playing you as the young person into Angela Bassett. Because they're the same person, by the way. So,
yes, it's true.
So, Soft Power for the Journey, The Life of a STEM Trailblazer. You can look it up. It's available at your local bookstore. It's on Amazon. I also have an audiobook version with Sandra, myself, as the narrator.
Okay, that is amazing. Do you have a preferred mode for people to buy it? Like, I know some people are like, oh, buy it from the publisher, buy it from Amazon.
Of course, if you buy it directly from me, that would be my preference. Okay. And you get an autographed copy.
Ooh. Well, we are definitely going to buy some from you because the first 5 people who listen to this episode and make a video, very short video, tagging us, telling us what inspirational nugget did you get out of this episode, we will give you a copy of the book. We're going to buy 5 from Dr. Johnson, and you will get those. So yes, the first 5 people, make sure your profile is public so we can actually get it.
And tell us which book you prefer.
That's true.
Like, do you want an inspirational nugget book or do you want her memoir?
Yes.
Yeah.
First 5 people, you get your choice.
Well, Sandra, it's been great chatting with you.
Likewise.
More about your experience. People want to contact you. You said use LinkedIn.
Yes.
Is there any other way that you want them to reach out, or is LinkedIn just
that's the best way? Because other ways I give you, you can reach via LinkedIn is also the same way, right? So LinkedIn is the best way for me.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been
honored
wonderful
that you'd be here with
Yes.
us today. Yay.
And you ladies, I'm so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
What a way to encourage and inspire. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
That means so much.